Today, we're going to be covering the top 10 most valuable Roberto Clemente cards. Included on this list are some really cool oddball releases that you might not know about and some foreign issues from Latin America. So stay tuned for that one. And before we go into that top 10, if you don't know who Roberto Clemente was, he was a legendary player for the Pittsburgh Pirates. Across his career, he was able to hit exactly 3,000 hits, accumulate 95 WAR, was a 15-time All-Star, won an MVP award, and also 2 World Series championships. Outside of baseball, he was an ambassador for helping people. In fact, he ended up passing away in a plane crash when he was out to help out victims of the Nicaragua earthquake in 1972. And shortly after his passing, Roberto Clemente was elected to the Baseball Hall of Fame, being the first Latin American player. What's interesting is usually there's a 5-year window. The Hall of Fame waived that rule and made Clemente an exception. And we're going to start off this top 10 list with the 1967 Venezuela. Now, typically with these cards, they have the same exact design for both the Venezuela and top set. However, 1967 wasn't officially licensed, and you can see a little bit of a difference. The last sale that I could find was an authentic that was beat up, and that sold for $600. If you're trying to look for some of these cards, you shouldn't mind any back damage because a ton of these were actually pasted into albums, and the only way to be able to get them out was to remove them. And yeah, you're going to find them in very low grades. In the 9th spot, we have the 1965 MacGregors. To my knowledge, this was a sports store. The set only had 10 total cards in it, but 2 of them were really great. You had Roberto Clemente and also Willie Mays. 3 sell about for $300, which isn't too expensive, but the last 9 sold all the way back in 2016 for $2,600. In that 8th spot, we have the 1960 Bazookas. If you aren't familiar with bazookas, they are hand-cut cards. They're at the very bottom of the gum product. And 60, they had 3 gum panels. Most of these that you're going to find are going to be in the authentic grade since they were cut too short. High-grade ones are expensive. And for Clemente, a PSA 8 sold for $900. Our first test issue on this list comes from 1972, and those are the Topps cloth stickers. There was a full sheet that was used, and most of these cards are going to be hand-cut. I shouldn't say most. All of them are going to be hand cut. A PSA 9 sells for about $2,000. There's only 33 cards in this set, and Clemente is one of the best ones to get. Another test issue is the 1967 Topps Punch-Outs. These were originally distributed in Maryland, and on the top left, you can see Roberto Clemente as one of the team captains for his lineup. The last 7 sold all the way back in 2016 for $2,700. Good luck finding one of these at a card show. And before we go over the honorable mentions, if you guys want to check out the full Roberto Clemente article, the link is down below in the description. There's a lot more cards that we couldn't cover in this video. Up first is the 1967 Topps Pirates stickers. Now in 67, Topps made sticker sets for both the Pirates and also the Boston Red Sox. Clemente actually has 2 cards in the Pirate set. One of them I thought was really cool. It was Roberto Clemente for Mayor. And eventually, this is a card I definitely want to add into my PC when the time is right. Up next, we have 1964 Topps stand-ups. These cards were distributed as a standalone product, but they are very tough to find in high grades because the color goes all the way to the border. PSA 9 sells for about $7,500, whereas a 4 is probably between like $300 and $400. What's kind of unique as well is these are all blank back, and there is no numbering on the cards. And lastly, I had to bring up the second year card with the 1956 Topps. You can usually find these cards in both white and gray backs. 4 is relatively inexpensive, probably about the $400 or $500 range. But once you get up to higher grades like an 8, you're going to be spending anywhere between $5,000 and $6,000. The next 2 cards come from Cons. They were distributed throughout the Midwest. Mostly you'll find them in Ohio and also Pennsylvania. The 1957 is a little bit more common than the 58. In fact, I couldn't even find any 1958 sales. And from doing a little bit of research, this is a very, very tough card. So in that 5 spot, we're going to put the 57, which the last 6, by the way, sold for $8,000. And in that 4 spot, we have the 1958, which is impossible to find. There's a little bit more sales data. This might be a little bit higher in the list, but because I don't have that information, I had to put it in that spot. And before we jump into the top 3, you guys please subscribe to the channel. That way I can continue making videos like this and it helps the YouTube algorithm. If you're brand new here, I upload at least 5 times a week, including weekly card show vlogs, what I pick up, and top 10 lists. Oh, and I show you how to spot fake sports cards. In the 3 spot, we have the 1967 Topps Test Disc. And just like the cloth stickers, these all came originally from sheets. They were hand cut. Apparently there are less than 10 of these out there, and the last authentic sold for $4,500. One of the most classic test issue cards out there is the 1968 Topps 3Ds. These were the first cards ever to introduce this technology. Now, rumor says that a few of these were available at Brooklyn stores. This is where Topps originally tested out these cards. Most of them that you were going to be fined were taken home by employees of Exograph and as well as Topps. This card is extremely expensive. In fact, a PSA 10 has sold for $160,000. And if you want an 8, that is a cool 50 grand. And it should be no surprise, but number 1 is the 1955 Topps. The last PSA 9 sale sold for over $1 million. There was a 10 sale, but that was all the way back in 2012, $400,000. So today's environment, that's easily $3 million plus. If you want a low-graded example, it's going to cost you anywhere from $1,000 to $3 or $4, depending on eye appeal and centering. Hey, if you want to learn about even more cards, click this video right here where we go over the top 10 for Hank Aaron.